All right. And the first key is what I believe, let's see, was it John that asked about? Yeah. So John was asking about long-term tenant duration stays. And and he also asked about the lease terms, right? Well, the way that we can set ourselves up, set our residents up, set our owners up, set our property management team up for success, if success is determined by long-term tenant stays, the way that we can set ourselves up for success is to be very particular about the type of leases we sign. If you know going in that you're going to need to sign, that you're going to need to keep people in your homes for 4 years to hit the type of numbers that JWB hits, right? Why on earth would we sign 1-year leases? It just doesn't make sense, right? We only sign 2- and 3-year leases. So that means that if a resident, if a tenant wants to rent a house from us and they check off every box, they're a wonderful tenant, make a ton of money, never had a blemish on their background or whatnot, but they come to us and they say, I'm only going to commit to a 1-year lease. What do you think we tell them? We tell them that we politely say we cannot rent to them because we are here to specialize in long-term leases. And why do we do that? Well, it's because at the end of the day, it's going to increase your chances of success, right? We know that going into this, that our conversions are going to be very low, and we're okay with it. Because at the end of the day, we would rather work harder up front so that we can make sure we put you in a position to hit your rates of return. But let's talk about why this makes sense for a resident. So for any of us who, maybe have rented in the past, I remember when I was renting a home in college, right? The idea of renting and signing a lease for longer than a year was just, nobody ever asked me that, right? And typically, tenants are sort of, I would say, expecting to sign 1-year leases, or at least that's the old way. But I don't know why it ever was that way. Like, I hated to move. I moved every year in college, and I just think that was the most ridiculous thing that tenants sort of go into this expecting to move every single year. I don't think there's many things out there that I dread more than packing up all my stuff and going somewhere else, right? And you got to think about the costs that come along with this too for a tenant. And sometimes finances are really tough for tenants. So the costs that come along with moving are going to be a lot more impactful and dreadful for somebody who might not be able to afford much more than the rent, right? So you got cleaning fees, right? When you move out of your place, you got the cleaning fees. You got the movers, the moving trucks. You got storage fees. If you got to put your stuff in storage, maybe you're moving out today, but fees for the next one, utilities. A lot of times they make you put, like a hold on it or something to make you put more money down. I mean, these really match your residents. So if you've got a situation where you set them up for a type of relationship where they're expecting to move every single year, I mean, 2- and 3-year leases make sense for everybody when you actually start to think about it. So here's how we do it. We get a few things we do really well that allow us to sign these long-term leases. The first thing is that we set expectations up front, and we do it the right way with all of our tenants that call in. And it comes from the very first moment they see one of our advertisements online for any home that's for rent. So the very first time they speak with our team, we explain the value that we bring, and that we are here to specialize in long-term leases. And we just assume that is what they want in the way of business. There is no 1-year option. We don't mention it. So this is a tip that you all can use when you're trying to rent your homes out, or of course, if you're trying to train your property manager. There's no 1-year option. Somebody comes in and says they want to rent a home. Hey, that's wonderful. So, we specialize in 2- and 3-year leases. So we can go ahead and get you set up on that, yada, 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 right? That type of tone and just the normal way of doing things, along with a lot of the correct expectations that are set up after that point, is really going to put you in a position where people aren't going to feel like it's weird. So it might be something simple, but totally something you guys can do. One of the things we do is we incentivize people to sign 3-year leases versus 2-year leases. So one thing that we do is we give, of course, we have rent escalators over time. We're in an environment where rents are increasing, and we make sure the resident knows that. But we understand that long-term, it is going to put more money in your pocket if you have a long-term tenant stay than it will if you have short-term tenant stays, you have that cycle, but you get rent escalators, right? What you want is you want to get both, but if you had to choose between one or the other, you're going to choose keeping them in the home, and you're going to choose to give up rent escalators if you had to. So a happy medium for us, something that we have found to be very valuable for our owners long-term because we keep tenants in so long, is that we keep people's rent the same for the first 2 years if they sign a 3-year lease, right? The way that we do this is no matter the length of the lease term that they sign up for, the last year has a $50 rent escalator. So if they sign a 3-year lease, they get the first 2 years and the rent stays the same, which is a huge value to a tenant. If they sign a 2-year lease, the first year's rent stays the same. The second year's rent goes up by $50. The other thing that I realized in talking with our property management team when we rolled this out was how helpful this is for a tenant to know what their financial responsibility is going to be in the future. I didn't realize, but one of the biggest reasons why tenants decide to leave and why they don't commit longer to staying with property managers is because they don't know how much the rent is going to be the next year. And so they're in fear that the next year, the rent might go up $100. It might go up $25. They don't know. So just simply knowing what their financial responsibilities are going to be 2 and 3 years out is a really big bonus. And you're removing one reason why tenants leave. So it's great to set that expectation up front. And as I mentioned, your conversion percentages are going to be lower, and that is a really good thing, okay? Typical percentages of conversion from maybe leads to homes rented in this space is about 10%, right? If you get 100 leads, you're gonna rent about 10 houses. That's typical. You guys would be shocked at how low JWB's conversions are and why I love it, right? Our conversions are 3 to 4%. And we pride ourselves in being pretty darn good at converting in our sales funnels, right? But this is the way that it has to be. Of course, you're going to make sure that you don't let the, mind blank here. You're going to eliminate the reasons why most people can't make it through your pipeline, right? But then you're going to add an extra qualifier on there that they have to stay 2 and 3 year leases for 2 and 3 year leases. So you're going to make it a lot harder. So no matter which way you cut it, you're going to have lower conversions. What you need to do is build up systems so that you can handle a tremendous amount of leads that come in so that you can pick the 3 to 4% that are going to be the best of the best that are going to stay long-term.